What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you on Rivian. They recently had their Q3 earnings a couple days back, so I want to talk on some of the highlights from that, go over the current data points, and just break it down on what the hell is happening today. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it is down 7.35%. 1566 is the low, 1737 is the high, 36.86 million shares have been traded so far, 41 is the average. Today there has been no news from Rivian itself, rather it is just following from the broader market. Specifically though, just initial jobless claims did come in a little bit higher than anticipated, the yields, and also Powell is going to be having a speech in roughly around 30 minutes, so the market is pulling back in anticipation of a little bit more of a negative viewpoint coming from him once again. So in reality, we'll find out fairly soon to see if this is a justified pullback or if it might bounce up higher. We'll just have to sit tight and wait. But ultimately, ever since their Q3 earnings did come out after hours on the 7th, it did have a high of just over about $19. And since then, it has gone down dramatically, which is very unfortunate because I do feel that there was a lot of good things to come out from their earnings. Of course, they were still burning through quite a lot of cash, as you can see, 1.4 billion. So not that big of an improvement, but over and above that, they did have around 7.9 billion in cash and cash equivalents, 2.5 billion in inventory. So that once again is a little bit higher than I would like to see. But still, overall, a lot of good highlights. So they did raise guidance to around 54,000. They did produce 16,304, so they are most likely going to hit their target fairly easily. And of course, I think the highlight of their earnings is ultimately this. So Rivian and Amazon. So of course, Rivian is able to sell to whoever the hell they want now. And I think a lot of people were very hesitant about this move. Of course, I think the last earnings, people were alluding to this, that this might be coming out, but technically though, this will actually benefit Amazon, especially with the Rivian stock price going up and them selling more vans essentially. That still would help Amazon. A lot of people were anticipating that without this deal, like Amazon would just dump Rivian, blah, 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 which you never know. It could still potentially happen, but at this stage, I do feel that it's very advantageous for both Rivian and Amazon. Just at this stage in the game with higher interest rates and so forth, will Rivian find new buyers? I don't know. We'll just have to sit tight and wait. But no matter what though, it does look like they did produce around 10,000 of the 100,000 order, I guess, placed by Amazon, but that's up until 2030. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. But other than that though, I really wish I would have listened to their actual earnings just to essentially hear their tone, because a Q1 and Q2 they were very confident, and I think at this stage in the game that's exactly what investors really want to hear, is confidence. Unfortunately, Lucid did have their Q3 earnings at the exact same time as Rivian, so I was live streaming that, which didn't really go that well, unfortunately. But overall, definitely Rivian has a lot of good things going for it. So I highlighted just some minor stuff, like I said, about their produced and versus delivered, a lot of good things overall. The future platform, so it says during the Q3 2023, production started for the R1 Max Pack variants with a EPA estimated range of 410 miles. So pretty good stuff for that. Then other than that, I think that's the only thing I really highlighted from that, and then just goes over their actual revenue. So they did do double beats both on earnings per share and revenue, and analysts seem to really like that. So these are all the analyst ratings that did come in yesterday. Very, very optimistic, and a lot of very good analysts, of course, as well. So John Murphy, fairly big in the EV market, so 53% success rating. Colin, who does have a 54% success rating. Garrett from CFRA, 56, and even looking at a lot of these price targets, very, very optimistic. So 40, 30, 25, 26, 30. So a lot of good things overall when it comes down to Rivian. And even based on the latest Morningstar report, which I know that has nothing to do with their Q3 earnings, but still, just to put it in perspective, the fair market value for Rivian is around $24.85, just based on their assets alone. And this is something I have brought up in the past. So right now, Rivian's market cap is around 14.9 billion. So once again, going over here with about just over 50% of their evaluation in cash, like there's virtually no multiple on that. So of course, Rivian should go up a little bit higher than what it is. So this is why you do see a lot more analysts or optimistic analyst ratings, as well as a lot more optimistic options happening. So on a side note, while I'm on here, if you are liking a lot of the analyst ratings, forecasts for the future earnings and so forth, take a look at Interactive Brokers. Completely free to have all this information. Just click on the link in the description below or the comments and take advantage. And obviously you can see a lot of this future earnings and potentially even analyst ratings and many things like that. But still, like I said, a lot of good options as well. So as it stands right now, $9.39 million in calls being purchased versus 5.91 million in puts. So definitely fairly optimistic for that. But even if we zoom out over the last about 2 days, so that way we incorporate their actual earnings as well, $31 million in calls, or now 32 million in calls being purchased versus 17 in puts. So after their earnings, a ton of calls. So like I said, a lot of good things potentially in Rivian's future. Specifically looking at the calls though for the volume today, a lot of people are anticipating for it to be over around $16 to $18 or within that range in the next week. And then vice versa, looking at puts, people are anticipating for it to be sub around $16. So kind of where it's at. Like I said, this could be perceived as a little bit more overkill for today, but we just have to wait and see what good old Powell does come out with. So I'll give you an overview of shorts. As I've said in the past, I do not feel that Rivian is a short squeeze by any means. I'm just bringing this up as a benchmark. So the fact that shorts are returning around 188,000 shares and it being very red today shows that they feel it's an overreaction. So once again, you kind of have options, very bullish. You have this information, shorts, which is very bullish right now. So who knows? Obviously, you guys do your own due diligence because I'm not a financial advisor, but 13.39% of the free float is being shorted. 89.47 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost of borrow average 1.15%. So still fairly low. And like I said, I don't see this being a squeeze by any means, but through the Interactive Broker short availability, there is more than 10 million shares available to be shorted. So if shorts really did feel that today was justified and was due to trend down, then technically though, they would be increasing pretty significantly because there's more than enough buying power when it comes down to that. But with that said, let's talk on some technicals. So as it stands, 1583. So it is between this S1 and the pivot. So 1513 is going to be that next strong support. Vice versa, $18.79 is going to be that next strong resistance. And as I've indicated many times in the past, a lot of these kind of pivot points are very wide. So there's going to be a lot of volatility. You just have to be very comfortable with that. So again, you could either believe in a lot of the data points that I've been saying, analysts, or whatever else, whatever floats your boat. But I think a lot of people do see a lot of good future with Rivian, despite the volatility. So if you do believe in Rivian longer term, especially based on a lot of their earnings, like they are making improvements, clearly not as fast as maybe I would like, but still they are making a lot of good improvements. But no matter what though, if you have a long-term time horizon by, for instance, 2030, definitely Rivian's going to be a steal of a deal at these prices for then. So let me know your thoughts on that. But as far as right now, at least in the short term, obviously I talked on some support and resistance points for you to watch for, at least in the short term. And a couple of things I just wanted to show you. Number of retail investors are getting out, and that is based on the momentum indicator. Stochastic is at 50, so kind of neutral overall. So it's not really oversold, not overbought. It's kind of neutral. And stochastic, there is a little bit more of a bearish sentiment kind of underlying though, because red line is above the black. So there might be a little bit more of a pullback attributed to that. So let me know your thoughts on Rivian. Give yourself a shout out in the comments below if you've been buying, selling, holding, what you've been doing as well. I know I did highlight just some of the minor things when it comes down to the earnings, but for those of you that did listen to the actual conference call, was there anything that stood out to you? What was the sentiment? What was the good questions coming from analysts that really stuck with you? And as well, based on that, do you think that it is justified for it to be around that $19 range, or do you think it's around the 15? So what's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. It is completely free shares, so you might as well sign up for an account with Move, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, plus you get 1 free share of SoFi. So for $100, you get 6 stocks plus any cash that you do have in this account, you are earning 5.1% APY. So it's a win-win. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.